Welcome to The Pivot Point, stories of courage, resilience, and reinvention. I'm your host, Jessica McGann, coach, producer, and creative, whose mission is to normalize the human experience, ignite the soul, and move you from feeling limited to limitless. Stories connect us, and my hope is that within this series, you will find at least one story that resonates with you on a deeply personal level, one that speaks to your soul or your current situation that will motivate you to keep moving forward, inspire you to make bold, brave choices in your own life, and help you feel less alone in the process. I believe that everyone has multiple pivot points in their life. And I thought that if I'm asking others to come forward and be vulnerable with their stories, I should be willing to do the same with mine. So, this first episode is a story of one of my pivotal moments. See, I had dedicated my entire life to being an actress, but after enduring a couple traumatic events, I no longer had the capacity or self-awareness to tackle the harsh realities of being a freelance actress. After years of struggling with depression, a one-week trip to Whistler with my girlfriends changed the entire course of my life. I'm so excited to share this story with you. So without further ado, let's dive in. I remember knowing that I wanted to be an actress really early on in my life. I actually remember it very clearly in my mind. I was sitting in my next door neighbor's living room. I was around 6 or 7 years old, and we were watching Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's mystery tour, one of their movies. And I remember specifically being like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an actress. Like it was so clear and hit me so hard that I remember it to this day. And for the rest of my life from that point, I dedicated myself to acting. I was always dressing up and creating and putting on performances for my family and for my friends. I would be dragging my neighbors in and putting them into costumes, dressing up my brother, making them perform these skits that I had written. I had like a little band. We called ourselves the Beautiful Butterflies, and we wrote songs, and basically every family event became my stage. And I always had a play or a song or a dance or poetry to recite at these events. I did all the drama programs. I would find auditions in the newspaper and beg my parents to bring me to them. I auditioned and got accepted into an arts high school where I got to be a drama major and poured my heart and soul into that program. And school wasn't always easy either. Like, I was that weird theater actress kid, so I got bullied a lot. And school never really felt like a safe space for me. I struggled in my friendships. I struggled with my identity. And the only thing that continued to be clear for me was that I felt good when I was on a stage, which is kind of bizarre. Like, the kid who's being bullied is the one who wants to stand in front of a crowd and perform. I don't understand how that makes sense, but that's really how I existed. And that's where I felt my most safe. So when it came to picking a college or university, I knew I wanted to go for acting, for performing arts. And I was lucky enough to be accepted into the George Brown Classical Theatre Conservatory in downtown Toronto. It's associated with the Soul Pepper Company. And I remember entering that program. And I think about a week in, I called my mom just sobbing, being like, I don't know if I can do this. This is so hard. It was a high demand program where we were in school Monday to Saturday from like 7 a.m. until the evening. I didn't have that normal college experience. Like, I didn't have a university dorm. I didn't have frosh week. I didn't party every weekend. I was working, and my program was so strict that every semester they would kick people out who weren't meeting their standards or their expectations at that time. So although the program continued to be like, fail, that's how we learn, fail, try things on, it's okay, I was like, I can't fail. If I fail, you're going to kick me out. And I think my program started with about 34 people in semester one, and we graduated with 14, I believe. And I was lucky enough to be one of those 14. So I remember graduating this program at like the peak of my acting ability. I was top notch. But what a lot of people didn't know was that while I was in the program, the summer leading up to my second year, I was 19. So I'm a baby. I was 19 years old and I was raped at a party, which is a pivotal moment in and of itself. But that happened and that completely dysregulated my nervous system. I was very anxious. I was very stressed and I was deeply unhappy. Simultaneously, my parents were also going through a divorce. And I grew up in a very loving household. My parents were always so affectionate and kind to each other. So this divorce announcement in my second year, while I was already processing the trauma of my assault, learning that my parents were getting a divorce was like getting the rug swept right on under my feet. And I felt like my whole world was stressful and hard, and I didn't recognize it anymore. When I graduated from theater school, I wanted to be a theater actress. Like I wanted to be up on that stage. I wanted to end my workday with people standing and applauding me for what a great job I did. Like that is where my soul was on fire. But theater work, to any of the theater actors who are listening, like we know it's not, there's not a lot of work. It definitely doesn't pay very well. And a lot of the money is in film and television. So I started taking film and television classes upon graduation. And I really tried to establish myself as a professional actress. I worked really hard to build some momentum. I was auditioning. I was taking these classes. I had paid an editor to edit me a demo reel with all of my film and TV work on it. I sent that out. I had to burn like 60 DVDs because we didn't have like Google Drives at the time. So I burnt CDs with my demo reel on it, put them into big envelopes with my headshot and my resume, and I sent it off to about 60 different agencies. And I heard back from a couple, but they were all kind of notes and encouragement of like, keep trying, keep going, and let us know in the future. I was doing fringe festivals. I was applying for Stratford and Shaw, and I was trying my hardest, but at the same time, it felt like I was sludging through mud. Like all the effort that I was putting in really felt like so much effort, if that makes sense. And I think in reflection, now knowing what I do now, it was because I had so much internal anxiety, depression, struggles happening in my personal life, lots of bad narratives. It was slowing me down. It was like this weight that I was carrying that just made belief and my efforts feel so hard. I don't think that I had the confidence that I needed to navigate that industry. I often think like I wish I had done my acting program later in life when I knew who I was. Like I was 19, I was a baby. So when my teachers were telling me critiques, it was hard not to take that on as a personal critique rather than an acting critique. And when you go into the industry and they're telling you you're not pretty enough, or you need to lose weight, or you need to dye your hair, or whatever, it's really hard if you do not have a strong base and knowing of who you are at your core. You're going to get rocked. And that's exactly what happened to me. I felt like I had no stable ground to stand on, and I had no capacity to hold the stress of that industry. And I felt lost. I felt like I was drowning. I felt unhappy. And I just felt like this was not what I was expecting it to be. I feel like I'm my best version when I'm performing in front of people. But I was struggling with anxiety and depression and a lot of personal things happening in my life that it overshadowed all of that. And I didn't know if that was the way I wanted my life to look and feel. And I started to get curious about what else might be out there. So to support me during this time, I balanced work as a waitress and as a snowboard instructor. And I had been a snowboard instructor since I was like 16, and I had been volunteering for years before that. My mom actually got me into snowboarding when I was 8 and had me on skis even before that. So I was very comfortable on the hills here in Ontario. That's where I got a lot of my joy during this time, was just leaving the city and spending time with my friends on the hill. And this year was 2012. I was 22 years old. So I had just graduated a year or two before this. So my girlfriends wanted to take a trip to Whistler. These were three of my good girlfriends that I was teaching snowboarding with at Caledon Ski Club. And I thought, why not? I've got nothing else to do. Let's go for a week. So we booked a trip. One of the girls, her parents had a place in Creekside up in Whistler. And so it was really affordable for us. We could crash there, get some lift tickets, and just have a great time. The goal for Whistler was to just have as much fun as possible. And we did. We skied every single day. We partied every single night. We went and got massages. We hitchhiked. We went and saw concerts. It was the ski and snowboard festival of that year. So we were watching concerts, and I just felt so alive in a way I don't think I had ever felt before. You know, a lot of kids when they go out to college and university get that university experience. They party, they have these exciting relationships, they meet a bunch of people. And I didn't really get that college experience. My college experience was like entering the workforce. It was serious training. And if you didn't perform, you were getting kicked out. So I remember I just had so much pressure for such a long period of time to now being in an environment where I felt so free and so joyous and so aligned with things that I cared about at that period of time. I was 22. Okay. Keep this in mind. I'm 22 and I'm in Whistler. I am in like the best age to be in Whistler at this point. And my focus was the boys at this point in time. I wanted to date and kiss a lot of guys while I was there. And we met a lot of guys. There's actually a video edit of this trip. I will include it in the episode descriptions. It's mortifying. Like, it's made with a handy camera. Like, we didn't even have social media or cell phone cameras at that time. Like, it's a handy camera, and I would take it everywhere and I would talk to boys. I would like literally interview them. I think I have a montage at one point where there's like a bunch of guys introducing themselves. And I know this sounds cringy probably as you listen to it, but because I was talking to all these guys, a lot of them were actually locals to Whistler. They were living in Whistler. And I just remember going, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, these guys are living in Whistler, I can live in Whistler. And not only that, but a lot of them were coming from all over the world. There was people from Australia and New Zealand and the UK. And I just thought, like, I didn't even know that was a possibility. I didn't know that we could live in other countries. I thought we could only visit. I thought they were just short trips that were allowed. We can live in other countries. How cool is that? And then also meeting and talking to people from other countries and learning from them and listening to their hot accents. I was like, yes, I want to be here. I was just living my best life. And I have a clip from that video edit. And I think this was the moment I left separately to head home than my other girlfriends did. I don't have any memory why I flew home separately than the other two, but I have this video of me at the bus station to go to the Vancouver airport, and I'm near tears, and it's dark and it is snowing out, and I am just talking about how much fun and joy I felt on this trip and that I had to come back. So the trip is over and I return back to Toronto, and I'm back in my film and television classes. I'm back at my waitressing job, and I'm back into the grind. And I cannot at this time let go of Whistler. It had changed something so significantly inside of me. And I really, truly could not wait to return. And I just decided to start telling people that I was going to move. And I didn't have a plan in place. I had no idea what this meant or what it was, where it was going to take me or what was going to happen or how I was going to do it. But I just started telling people that I was going to move to Whistler in October. I was going to move to Whistler in October. I'm going to move to Whistler in October, over and over and over again. And the more I started to tell people, the more and more questions they had. How are you going to do that? What about your acting career? What about theater? What about your diploma? What about this? What about that? Lots of fear thoughts start coming up. Okay, like, does this mean I'm leaving acting? Does this mean I can no longer call myself an actress? If I'm no longer an actress, then who am I? And I don't think in my mind that I consciously chose to step away from acting. I think in my mind, what it landed on for me was I needed a break. I needed to step away from acting for a moment, but I was still an actress and I would find my way back. The theater community definitely had different messages for me. And I had a lot of support, which really made a big difference for me. But there was also a lot of people who told me things like, if you leave, you'll never be able to come back into this. That if you step away from acting, you can't come back to it. Or it was kind of like that message that kids get if you take a gap year. I don't know if any of you got this, but like, oh, if you take a year off, you're never going to go to college. You're never going to get to university. It was kind of like that. Oh, if you take a break, you're never going to find your way back into the industry. And I get it because acting is like a muscle. It's like going to the gym. You have to constantly be maintaining this practice and this skill. So I understood that. But I also at the same time knew that it wasn't working for me at this point in time in my life. And I was ready to choose joy. I was ready to choose to feel good. I had been so stressed and so anxious and so burnt out. And so I felt like put down. Like acting school is notorious for just putting you down constantly, like tear you down to build you back up kind of mentality. And I was so young. Like I was so young. And so for the first time in my life, I chose something because it was going to make me feel good, not because it was going to accelerate my career, not because it was going to make me millions of dollars, but because it was going to make me happy in that moment. And I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't know what was going to happen in the couple of years after that. But I knew in that moment that this was the path I wanted to walk down. And so I did it. I kept telling people, I'm going to move in October. I'm moving in October. I don't know how, but I'm going to move in October. And slowly, the more and more I said it, the more and more I believed it. My system and my brain was like, okay, we're doing this. And the pieces slowly started coming into place. Okay, I'm moving in October. I guess I need a place to live. And sure enough, because I had been saying this to people, people started reaching out to me. Oh, I have a friend in Whistler with a room opening up. Oh, really? Can you put me in touch? Great. I had a room set up before I even landed in Whistler. I sold my stuff. I moved out of my apartment. Things started to fall into place almost effortlessly just because I believed it was going to happen. And I started making actions that were aligned with that belief. When I think of the mental and emotional hurdles that I needed to navigate during this transition, I was very fortunate to have such supportive parents who were really encouraging me to take this step and make this move. So I felt like I had a lot of support during that time. But that doesn't make it any less scary or nerve-wracking. There were so many thoughts of like, what if I hate it? What if I can't make friends? What if I can't make enough money? What if I don't get the job? What if I can never be an actress again? You know, all of those thoughts really did flood my mind. But instead, I chose to listen to this deep, quiet inner voice that was just whispering to me, "You're capable. You're going to be fine. You got this. You're going to figure it out." And my career fears was replaced with, you don't want to be an actress right now. You know that this industry isn't making you happy and you're waitressing. And if you're going to be a waitress, you might as well do it somewhere cool. That's what kept me going. I was like, if I'm going to be a waitress, I might as well do it in Whistler, where I can ski every day and I can live by the mountains and I can make new friends and have some adventures. Like if I need space and time, why not do it somewhere cool? I think that's what really motivated me at this period in my life to keep going. And when I arrived in Whistler to live there, like I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. I had roommates. They were like 4 dudes who kept a very messy house. We did not end up getting along, but they weren't really my people. So I needed some way to make friends. So I wasted no time and I got a job, which was a great way to make friends and make new connections. I got hired as a waitress at Tapley's, for any of you listening who know Whistler well. I worked there and the staff was just so lovely and welcoming. And I met a lot of my still now friends from that job. I found this bar. It's called Cinnamon Bear Bar in Whistler. Anyone who's been to Whistler, I'm sure you know it. It's in the Hilton Hotel. And they would do pool competitions once or twice a week. And I would just start asking the guys to teach me how to play pool. And they were also inviting and welcoming, and they would teach me. And then I would start playing in these pool competitions. And I became like this little pool shark. I would go around. I think I played in like 3 or 4 competitions a week at various different bars. And that's how I started to build up my community, was all these pool sharks and people who wanted to play pool and go snowboarding. And that's how I kind of started to build my community. All these things that were making me nervous or that I feared before I got to Whistler, will I make a friend? Will I get a job? All of those things really never came to fruition. Like I made friends, no problem. I got a job as a waitress, no problem. Again, I found a house before I even moved there. Everything just fell into place so naturally. And I'm proud of myself for continuing to move forward, even when things felt scary. I think this is when I started to really believe in how capable and strong I am, that my heart and my joy and my passion and my love could be the voice that I need to listen to, that needs to be louder than the negative thoughts and the what ifs and the you can'ts. I'm glad that I trusted that inner soul connection to this path. I don't know what my life would be like if I hadn't made this transition. My life, I believe, is so much better because I gave myself that time to live and be in joy and follow my crazy impulses and make friends with strangers all over the world and live that ski snowboarder bum life. I think if you had asked me at 18, 19, 20 years old, I had a vision for my life. I was going to go to college. I was going to make a career as a professional actress. I was going to meet a guy. I was going to be engaged by 25, married by 27, kids at 30. And I had my life all planned out. And going to Whistler opened up my eyes to a much bigger world. And because of that trip, my life course changed forever. After living in Whistler for a couple of years, I ended up backpacking Europe by myself, which is cool all on its own. Like, happy I did that. I lived in Australia. I've lived in New Zealand. I've traveled all over Asia and Central America. Like, I've seen the world, and I really attribute that because of my time in Whistler. And also, I just want to add that when I did come back to Ontario, I still had a lot of healing left to do. Time doesn't heal everything. And I had moved at a time where I was dealing with, again, a lot of stress and anxiety, which was waiting for me to come in and deal with when I came back home. And I did. But I was able to do that because I had given myself the space and time to just breathe and feel joy and feel connected for a space and time. I think I was able to heal better because I came back ready to take it on and ready to tackle it. And I went to therapy and I did all that processing that I needed to do. And I was able to do that with strength and integrity and courage because I had spent these years finding my joy, learning who I am, figuring out how I wanted to be and who I wanted to be in this world. And now I have found my way back into this entertainment industry. I may not be paid for my acting like I had originally dreamed, but I actually still do commercials for like non-union commercials here and there for my friends. I do community theater, which just is so much fun. Like doing acting because I love it, not because it's a job, lights me up. I'm creating a podcast and a YouTube series, which lights me up as an actor myself because I get to be in front of you and I get to speak to you and I get to be seen by you. I also work as a television producer, helping people from behind the camera tell their stories and support them on that journey. And I work as a coach supporting creatives on that journey, navigating the instability of these industries and managing their stress from these high demand industries that often feel really deeply personal. I believe my life is 20 times better because of the decision I made to invest in joy and happiness. And I still continue to make those choices. I still hold that power in me. I choose things that are going to feel good. And I don't allow the fear of the unknown to dictate the choices I make in my life. I thoroughly, deeply believe that if there is something that lights you the fuck up, that there is a place for you in this world to follow that joy and be immensely successful in it. If you can just believe that it is possible for yourself. What I hope you take away from my story today is a few things. One is that people will always give you advice from their own perspectives and their own journeys. And although they can be well-meaning, they don't necessarily know everything that's happening for you and the intricacies of your soul and the things that you're experiencing in life. Trust that there is a place for you in this world to live out your wildest dreams and to follow joy. And also that you should travel the world. I truly believe that everyone should live somewhere abroad for at least 1 year of their life. Honestly, the things that I have gained and learned and grown from traveling the world is better than any lesson I could learn from any book or class. Definitely, I hope you take that away from this podcast, but also that you're stronger than you think. And that if you want to do something, talk about it. Say it out loud. Tell people, because that is a trick in manifestation. And the more you talk about it, the more people are aware of what you're working towards or what you desire. And when they see things or opportunities, they're going to let you know, even if you don't know how exactly it's all going to work or how you're going to do it. Just say it. So as I mentioned earlier on, I am a coach. I'm a producer. I still call myself an actress. I think I am. I still do it for fun. And if you're listening and you want to connect and you want to learn more about me or what I do or how I can help you, you can find me at coachedbyjess.com, where I coach creatives on stress management, personal development, and change and transformation. I also am always looking for new stories and new people to interview on my podcast series that you're listening to right now, The Pivot Point. So if you have a story of transformation, I want to hear it. And you can click the episode description and find the link to apply right now. I also work as a story producer in unscripted reality TV shows. So if you are an executive producer, line producer, production manager looking for your next producer, I'm always interested in new projects. So you can email me at hello@coachedbyjess.com and would love to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening to episode 1 of The Pivot Point. This was terrifying and fun all at the same time. I plan on incorporating more of my stories and more of my journey into this series as it goes on. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and letting us know your thoughts in the comments below. It truly means the world to me to hear from you. New episodes will be available every Saturday, both on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And if you would like to learn more about my work as a coach, today's guest, or have a story that you would like to share on The Pivot Point, check out the episode description for more information. Now, time for the legal stuff. This podcast is presented to you solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I may be a professionally certified coach myself, but hosting a podcast is not coaching. This podcast should not be used in substitution of working with a licensed therapist, doctor, coach, or other qualified professionals. Copy that? Amazing. See you on the next episode. Nothing but love, Jess.